Hi, my name is Joe Lowery. I'm a sound designer and producer based in Los Angeles, California, and welcome to Sips N Synths. Today we're going to be reverse engineering my favorite Led Zeppelin song from the album Houses of the Holy, and the song's called No Quarter. And it sounds like this. Spooky. Also today, I will be drinking my friend's coffee, Ethiopia Guji Shakiso, whatever that means. It's a dry, natural processed coffee. It comes from Kabeli of Geisha, near the town of Sekizo, where hundreds of locals are responsible for the harvest. The fruit is sorted in flotation tanks, then left under the shade for a few days before being sun-dried. It has flavors of black cherry and limeade. So that's what I will be drinking during this episode of Sips N Synths. Let's get started. This sound is really cool. A lot of people think it's a Wurlitzer put through a phaser, because that's actually what John Paul Jones kind of did on tour. But in the studio, to get this sound, he actually used a rare piano called the Hohner Electra piano. And it's kind of a mix between a Wurlitzer and a Rhodes. It uses hammers to hit. Instead of tines like the Rhodes, it's using reeds. So it's kind of an in-between sound. John Paul Jones didn't tour with this. It was way too heavy. But apparently he used it in the studio because he really liked the action of the keyboard. So that's not where this stops, though. Part of this sound is John Paul Jones had a synth called the EMS, and he is a 3-oscillator synth. It had filter cutoff, low-pass filter between, I think, 12 dB and 18 dB. I think it had ring modulation, and you could use one of the oscillators as an LFO to control the filter, but it also had an audio input, so you could run audio through that synth and use the filter or the dirt or the overdrive to essentially, use it like an effect pedal. And that's what he did with this sound. So he put the Electra piano through this EMS synth and used an LFO, one of the oscillators as an LFO to wobble essentially the filter. So he was doing dubstep way before everyone else was doing it. That's a joke, bad joke. But a lot of people are still kind of doing, that's not a unique thing these days to wobble the filter, right, with the cutoff. But I think what's interesting about this sound is that I don't hear a lot of people putting a Rhodes or a keyboard through kind of a lo-fi wobbly filter to get kind of like an eerie ambient sound. A lot of people will put their Rhodes or Wurlitzer through a wah pedal or a phaser or a tremolo or vibrato. I don't hear a lot of people doing this sound specifically. So that's kind of why I wanted to go over this. All right, before we get started, let's just hear a sample of the track by Led Zeppelin. Here we go. All right. Now, where I want to start is with the base of the sound, which is the Electra piano by Hohner. What's great is there is a free synth that you can download called Electrics that is an emulation of that Electra piano, and it's by Sampleson. So this is what it sounds like, just plain. All right. Kind of interesting. Yeah, it sounds like a mix between a Rhodes and a Wurlitzer. Obviously, that's not where Jonesy stopped. So he put this synth through, he put this Electra piano through the EMS synth and used the audio input of that synth and used one of the VCOs, the oscillators, as a LFO to modulate the filter. So that's what we're going to emulate. You can use any filter you want. I really like Filter Freak, so I'm going to use that. You can use the Ableton stock one, pretty much anything you want. So here is Filter Freak. Here's the frequency, resonance, modulation, which is how much the LFO is going to modulate the filter cutoff. And I'm going to switch this to LFO here. So when I turn up this mod knob, it's going to start changing the cutoff frequency. So you can see that there. But let's just hear what the cutoff is doing. Not much. Okay, so let's start modulating the cutoff frequency. Let's turn it down a little bit. Let's hear how this sounds. The other thing, I'm going to use a triangle shape. So the EMS synth, I'm pretty sure, did not have a sine wave as one of its voltage controlled oscillators. A lot of analog synths don't have sine waves. I think it has something to do that it's really difficult to create a perfect sine wave in the analog domain. So we're going to use triangle. All right. You can see this is already a little caffeinated over here, speaking of. All right, so let's hear how this sounds. Let's bring this down, turn up the resonance. Cool. I think it's a little faster. Let's go here. And the mod, that's a little too fast. Nice. And again, you can set the resonance higher if you want. You can have more modulation. Not bad. I'm going to add some more resonance, a little more modulation. Now, another thing, if you listen to the track of No Quarter, there is loud hiss going on. And a lot of people might not want that, but I want it because it's authentic. And if you use Shaper Box by Cable Guys, you can do something similar. You can also just, I'm sure there's other ways you could do it. You could probably just layer on hiss underneath, or put it on in Simpler or Sampler or anything, whatever DAW you're using. So when you play, you're getting that hiss. But I really like Shaperbox to do this. So I actually had a tape machine, and I sampled the hiss. So we can load that into this Shaperbox. Here it is, tape machine. So let's hear how this sounds with the electrics through the filter, freak, wobble, and then the hiss. Sounds pretty close to me. I'm going to add some reverb. I don't know if they used reverb, Led Zeppelin, when they did this, but I'm going to use, you can use anything. I'm going to use this digital reverb by PSP. See how this sounds. But we don't have to stop there. So let's cross the streams and roast more beans. All right. So what I really like doing is using a random LFO on a filter cutoff with high resonance and a lot of modulation to kind of get this cool kind of rhythmic, layered, complex sound. Another thing we could do is add a shimmer reverb. All right, another thing I'm going to do right now, I have my Moog behind me. I'm going to try to kind of replicate what John Paul Jones was doing on this track, but running my guitar through that Moog. It actually has an audio input too. So what we're going to do is we're going to run it through there and just kind of see what we can do with the filter. All right, I have my guitar. It's going through the Moog. And what's awesome about the Sub 37 is you can control the Moog from an app like this. So I have control over the filter and everything from here. So let's hear this sounds. Pretty cool. Now let's do that trick where we have random LFO going. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Sips and Synths. Hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and always caffeinate when you modulate. See you next time.